If you've ever wondered how to make pockmarked tofu, where to stick your aubergine, and how to hotbox a cabbage, then this is the podcast for you. It's also the podcast for you if you haven't, because otherwise this would be ridiculously niche. Fire up the grill! And welcome to the Vegan Life Podcast, the podcast that's equally happy with silver service or straight out the packet in the car park. And today, with summer right around the corner now, it's time to take it outside for a barbecue special. Now, nothing screams red-blooded carnivore quite like the prospect of half a petting zoo roasting on the grill, but we're here to challenge that orthodoxy with the best and most joyful plant-based vegan foods for throwing on a barbie, whether or not you're comfortable with terms like Barbie, which I personally am not. Let's meet today's chefs and see what they've got going for us. Derek Sarno is the co-founder of Wicked Healthy and director of plant-based innovation at Tesco. Rukmini Iyer is a recipe writer, food stylist, and author of The Green Barbecue, vegan and vegetarian recipes to cook outdoors and in. Both of you, welcome. Now, my neighbours like nothing more on the weekend, come rain or shine, than indulging in a crusty bap filled with tire-smoked pig lung. But what is the essence of good plant-based barbecue food for you two? Let's start with you, Derek.
That's a disgusting visual right there.
I'm so sorry, I know. It's a coping thing, but it's only for me.
Yeah, first, thanks for having me on. Nice to meet you, Minnie.
Hi.
Very nice to meet you guys. So for me, barbecue is all that. It's all, forgive me for saying it, but it's like very dude food-y, like very much fire, iron, lots of sharp knives, hard cutting boards. Like it's just the epitome of what being a chef is to me. Just being out back and laboring over the flames. It's pretty awesome.
What about you, Rukmini?
Well, I'd like to say that maybe it's a mindful way to cook, because unlike when you're cooking indoors, you've got an oven, you've got a hob, everything's very contained and safe. Really, you just have to pay attention when you're barbecuing. So I know there are a lot of people who think it's very difficult or it's very technical, but really all it requires is your complete attention. That's it. So not much.
That's awesome. I don't want to get into it too much, but I haven't been reading. I read the first chapter about 8 months ago, and then I just haven't picked it up again. But it's a really good book called The Sexual Politics of Meat. And it talks a bit about the whole kind of, what is man food and what is woman food, and this whole thing that traditionally meat has very much been associated with men. They're the ones that go out and hunt, and women are the kind of gatherers of the plants and stuff. And so I was really interested. I was fascinated, Derek, by you sort of saying it's this kind of manly thing, and it's kind of really interesting to find this sort of middle ground between, what is traditionally seen as man stuff, food, but also doing it in a plant-based way, which actually, traditionally has been seen as a more kind of feminine side of cooking. I
don't see it that way though, Jake. So
well, there you go.
I don't mean to say it's a man. It's not. It's every gender.
No. I know you're not saying.
You know what I mean? But for me, because I came from cooking meats and doing pig roasts and doing all that stuff.
Really?
Before, and I've only been vegan for the past 5 years, but training this way for like 15. But back in the day, that's what it was. It was doing pig roasts and over the fire and flipping burgers and throwing.
Did you go the? I was going to say, did you go the whole hog?
Yeah, I used to.
Wow.
I regret it. I didn't. I'm not happy about it.
It's okay. We're not here to haul you over the barbecue coals.
We're
just happy you're here.
I hold myself over the coals. That's why I work so hard at doing what I do now for plant-based. So
yeah, but we all do that. We all beat ourselves up for the years that we weren't vegan. But
to me, though, barbecue is all about the cool. For me, it's the coolness of it. Like just being over the flames. It's such a great thing, and it's super mindful. Like totally appreciate that comment, because it is when you step back and you think about it. But for me, and like most people who don't think that way at the moment, it's just fun. And I mean, you're outdoors, and you're outdoors and you're around and you're talking and you're either drinking beer or wine, or it's just a fun time to have.
Awesome. Well, so many people are really excited about this episode. We've got lots of questions to try and get through. If you've got a question about any aspect of plant-based cooking, you can fire away. You want to email podcast@veganlifemag.com, and it might take us a while to get to your question because we always wait for the best people to put the question to, but have no fear. We'll do our best to get to it. Jack asks, can I barbecue tofu? Will it stick to the grill? And what flavour coating can I use? Rukmini, go for it. You're so enthusiastic. Go for it.
I'm totally going for this one. So tofu is a great thing to put on the barbecue. I really like doing Vietnamese tofu lettuce wraps, which I know sounds like a little bit, I don't know, a bit delicate, but it's not, because you get a really punchy dressing on your tofu, barbecue it, it gets lovely and crispy. And you can make a veggie nok cham dressing. So you've got soy sauce, a little bit of sugar, loads of lime juice, pack it into lettuce cups. It's delicious.
So hang on, what is this? Tell me more about what you would actually do to the tofu then.
Not a lot. I think I just put a bit of a spice rub on it, plenty of olive oil. I think with a lot of the veg and that you're putting on the barbecue, obviously you want some spice on it, but you also can, I quite like dressing veg and tofu after it's come off. So what you get is a lovely caramelization, and then you post marinate it just to make sure that you're getting a big pack of the flavor, because a lot of it's going to taste of char, which is great. Everyone loves a bit of char, but you add that extra freshness when you put a zingy dressing on at the end. Yeah.
Derek, do you barbecue tofu?
All the time, man. Indoor or outdoors. I like to do the whole block tofu. So lately I've been doing like the whole block. So you need kind of a firm, or at least medium firm at the least. But I like to season it both sides with the dry rub, and then either grill it like that and then add the barbecue sauce or sauce on it and then finish it off. Or finish it off in the oven that way too. And another really cool way is doing the whole block, seared both sides, taking one of the vegan mayonnaises, and then spreading that on top with a little bit of panko or breadcrumbs in it and some more seasoning, and then roast that. And that adds, because there's no fat in tofu. So it really gives you this fatty mouthfeel. It's really good.
That's
great.
What
people used to chant at me in the playground. Fatty mouthfeel. That's how, I will take mayonnaise with almost anything, most hot drinks, but that's a really top tip. You're both talking about spice rubs. Just give me an idea, Rukmini, what kind of spice rub, what would go into that?
Well, I'm slightly obsessed with Sichuan peppercorns at the moment, but I do feel there's something you want to put a little sprinkle on the end as well, just so bit of flavor on before, bit afterwards, but they give you a sort of mouth, like Sichuan peppercorns and a little bit of chili will give you a mouth numbing sensation that is just delicious.
What's the difference between Sichuan peppercorns and the more traditional black ones?
Magic.
Yeah, magic. They're redder. They come in a different packet. You can usually get them. Oh, a tip with the Sichuan peppercorns, I find, you probably agree, Derek, the ones you get from the supermarket tend not to be that great, and you really want the ones from the Chinese grocery store for the proper flavor.
Fresher the better. It gives you such a weird feeling if you just chew one of the kernels.
Yeah, you can over egg them. I've had to rewrite recipes where I've used a really liberal hand and then got, this is kind of inedibly numbing now.
I can't feel my teeth. What is it literally, is it numbing? Because I've had, what's that? There's a prickly something oil.
Like
numbing oil.
Yeah, it's like and it sort of makes your mouth slightly numb. Is it the same kind of thing then with those peppercorns?
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, a bit clove, the way that cloves can, but it's different. It's better. They're better than cloves.
Oh, that's really exciting. Derek, what about you? What kind of spices do you go to?
Well, not to plug our own brand, but I'm huge into the barbecue seasoning that we did, and even the mango masala. So we have the whole spice line in Tesco now, so the whole Wicked range. Because of this reason, I was so sick of seeing all these animal call-outs on all those spice rubs, and some of them you would think are supposed to be vegan, but some of them aren't. So that's why. But I'm a huge fan of barbecue flavor. So any kind of smoked paprika, cumin, garlic powder, onion powder, that kind of.
Yeah. Is that another one of those things that you have to watch because it's sneakily not vegan?
Yeah, I think so. When you walk around the grocery store, even like the packs of stuffing, like we came out with stuffing because I'm sick of seeing a freaking dead bird on the box. I just don't want to buy it, and it doesn't encourage me to look at the ingredients because there's a photo of a dead animal on it.
That's such a good point. And just the things that are so insanely needlessly not vegan. Like, I am looking at you, Co-op, and your salt and vinegar crisps. Why you've
They're
got
not
skim
vegan.
milk powder? They've got skim milk
Really?
powder in the
Oh,
crisps.
But then some things like, I know you can't barbecue it, but just roll puff pastry, that is vegan.
And yeah, exactly.
Who says you can't barbecue? I want to barbecue
Oh,
everything.
I want to try now barbecue puff pastry.
Yeah, I bet there's a
do it.
way. If anyone can do it, it's you two. Well, there you go, Jack. There's some ideas for but just in terms of, because I'm doing a sort of thought experiment with tofu in my head now. Do you have like those sort of latticed, like the things that you traditionally hold burgers in over a grill? Would you put it in one of those, or do you put it straight on the kind of bars of your barbecue?
Straight on the bars.
Straight on the bars.
Although it's a nice idea using one of those baskets. I've always wanted one.
I'd feel more secure.
I don't think there's a wrong way to do it, Jake. I think you can do a slow cook, even on the bar above, and just have it going for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to overcook.
Yeah. And the other thing is, much less chance of E. coli happening.
Yeah, no
I know.
That's got to be the best thing about a vegan barbecue, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Okay, Emma asks, I see so many yummy mushroom steak recipes online, and they look nothing like mushrooms. What is the best way to barbecue mushrooms that will trick my fussy mushroom-hating husband? Wow. Derek,
this
do
one.
you do mushrooms? Do you hate
Yeah.
mushrooms? Where do you stand on the mushroom divide?
I hope, yeah. I mean, I hope people know I do mushrooms. I mean, all kinds of mushrooms. I like to cook them mostly. As far as making like mushroom steaks and pressing them, we have in the Wicked Healthy Cookbook, and even on Instagram, if you guys follow me at all or do Wicked Healthy, everything is about the mushroom and how to change the world with mushroom steaks. So whether it's cluster oysters, so whether that's brown, yellow, gray oyster mushrooms that we sell in the UK, or maitakes or lion's mane, that's where you press them with the 2 pans. So I use 2 cast iron skillets to press them, and it's really game changing. It's one of the reasons why I got my job, because of feeding people, meat eaters, this. It will change anybody's attitude.
Oh, wow.
This sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So this is, in fact, your brother Chad, who we had on in the previous episode.
Oh, cool.
He was talking about doing tofu that way, where he spice rubs it and presses it between cast iron
could do.
skillets. So you can do the same thing with mushrooms.
Yeah, well, that's where he got the technique.
Oh, he got it from you. I love that. We'll have him back on in the next one, and you can just do a kind of ongoing. Brilliant. That's a really good tip, Rukmini. What do you do with your mushrooms?
Well, I quite like again, I'm going to sound like I'm slightly obsessed with, well, I am slightly, yuzu. I really love dressing mushrooms with a really nice yuzu dressing, but I can't promise that they don't look like mushrooms. So I think this squashing technique is something I want to try. This sounds really good.
Yeah.
We have this whole, it's called the Mushroom Mania playlist on the Wicked Foods YouTube, and it has all the mushrooms techniques. Easier to watch than it is to just read the book.
We'll try it. It sounds really good.
I guess, Rukmini, in terms of your recipes, just hide it in a bap.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could. I just really like them. I don't know why people don't like them. It's very strange. I just think it's lovely when you do a big platter of different kinds of mushroom, and you don't have to do a lot to them before they go on the barbecue, but afterwards, if you're going to dress them like with yuzu and coriander and like maybe some, like, I don't know, something crunchy, thinking off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's good. No, I like you're welcome to riff as much as you want.
I think it's probably because I have got a yuzu mushroom recipe in the Green Barbecue book, and I forgot to put the crunchy element on in the picture, so we had to write it out of the recipe. So now I can't remember.
Otherwise, now it's breaking your heart every time you see it.
I know. I'm like, oh, you look so naked without, like loads of peanuts or something on top. But otherwise, you get people writing in and saying, well, you say that you put peanuts on, but there's none in the picture.
Oh,
sad.
Yeah, that's. Yeah, I've suddenly got a glimpse into your world there.
Yes,
I'm okay with mine. Yeah. Annika says, I would like a sticky sauce recipe for barbecue ribs. And also, what's a decent rib substitute? I'm glad you asked this question, Annika. We asked this question a couple of episodes back, and we didn't necessarily draw a particularly good conclusion. So I'm thrilled to find out what you two think about this one. Rukmini, let's start with you.
I think I might have to pass the buck a little bit because I am not sure what you could put on instead of a rib. What you want something kind of chewy. I really like fennel, but I mean, no one's going to think that fennel is a rib. Fennel's great on the barbecue.
That's a good idea, though. I like that. That's a good lateral idea.
Oh, and some people do sweet corn ribs, but they're not really ribs. It's a bit silly when you.
But you still got the same principle of gnawing stuff off a.
Have you seen the sweet corn ribs? You sort of,
no.
I haven't seen them.
They're funny. You have to cut the kernel in a certain way, drop it in boiling water, it curls up.
Seems like
really?
Yeah, it's a lot of faff. And then you can roast it or barbecue it, and it looks a bit like when you do squid.
Okay.
It's weird.
I'm not sure. It sounds a bit freaky.
It's a bit freaky, yeah. A bit like those dancing bonito flakes. They just dance.
The what now?
Oh, I saw this on Saturday Kitchen the other day. It's a weird. It's bonito flakes, and you put it on top of something, and because it's hot, they dance on the top.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's fish though.
Yeah, it's fish though. Sorry,
Yeah.
it is fish. Yes.
No, it's okay.
Maybe you do simmer thing with seaweed.
Yeah. Bizarre. Derek.
Sorry.
Jake, is that a sauce or they want an?
They want a sauce, and they want to know what you'd actually use as a fake rib.
Yeah. So the ribs I would use king oyster mushrooms. So they're really chewy as a whole, and same technique. Press them all sides. They come out squared that way because they're round. They look like this.
Okay.
I have this blue tack that I'm always in my hands. So it looks like
That's brilliant. You can give us the shape of everything you cook. Just mold it each time.
And when you press them, anyways, they look like ribs. And then you can also use tofu. So if you get firm block, you just cut them into the rib shapes. But season them on the outside. It's all about the seasoning. The texturally better is the mushroom because it has the fibers like meat, which really does give that mouthfeel. But then the sauce, again, back to the products, the Asian barbecue sauce that we have in Wicked, the teriyaki sauce, any one of those sauce or any kind of barbecue sauce. And if you just want to whip one up, it's just ketchup, a little bit of molasses or maple syrup, even some 5-spice in there, some cumin. You can easily whip up a sauce.
Oh, I really love that.
Would you put soy sauce in as well?
I would do a little bit of soy sauce, or just keep it soy separate and do the teriyaki where it's just soy, brown sugar, a little bit of the yuzu or lime, and super fresh.
I'm all about the kind of cheap, fast, low down and dirty hacks. Yeah. I love those. Those are great.
Ketchup is the biggest.
Ketchup. There you go. Yeah. We were talking the last time this came up. There was some discussion of dowel using or like bamboo as a sort of a central core to kind of gnaw the stuff off.
Yeah, it's too much work though to do that. Stuff it.
Although you guys put lemongrass maybe, but you probably don't want to chew on that as a central rib.
No, I do like the sweet corn idea. That feels like because you forget about the kind of the fun sort of.
I think it would make a good BuzzFeed video. One of those things where someone keeps doing something to a poor piece of food, and you think you can't possibly do anything else, and then they do.
All right. Well, let's make that. We'll make that. It'll be brilliant. Okay. Liam says, my new partner is Korean, so I would love to somehow incorporate these flavors into simple foods that I can cook, and I would love to make him a Korean burger. Can I have some tips, please? Oh, wow. Rukmini.
I would say jump in there with some gochujang, and if you can't get hold of... So gochujang is Korean red pepper paste, and it has such a depth of flavour. It's ridiculous. And if you combine that with either the soy paste, which is doenjang, or you could just use miso, it gives you this punch of umami. I just love... I put it on everything. At the moment, we've started doing gochujang cauliflower wings, Oh God, I called them wings, didn't I? But
It's fine. It's
so
okay.
ridiculous, isn't it?
You're
No,
safe. It's
I know.
okay.
I know.
We're
Fine.
not judging.
Cauliflower.
There's no judging here.
Thank you. But you get the cauliflower. A really easy one you could do would be cut your cauliflower into big florets. Don't forget about the delicious leaves, because they barbecue or cook in the oven so well. Smother them in gochujang, sesame oil, and you don't really need anything else, and you just get these amazing flavors. And it's sticky and it's delicious. Yeah. We're actually going to make that in the next couple of days. I bought a cauliflower special.
Oh, sweet. Derek, what about you?
I'm gonna go with same. Yeah. I mean, I'm not Korean, so I don't know the authentic flavors, and I'm not gonna pretend to. So go. If you could pronounce it, gochujang.
Gochujang.
There you go. How do you spell that? Just in case
it's
Liam is sitting there with a pencil ready, going.
Gochujang, I think.
Well done. That's next level. Well done. You didn't know you were getting a spelling test as well as.
I'm really bad at spelling out loud, so that was special just for you.
You did brilliantly. Charlotte says, what would you rate as the best burger? I can't imagine where Derek's going to go with this. I personally don't think you can get better than Beyond Burgers, but would love to hear from chefs what burgers they use. Derek, why don't we start with you?
I'm sure. Well, this has probably come from someone in the UK who hasn't had Impossible yet, I'm guessing. So there's two, but two of the best would be Beyond and Impossible Burger. Impossible being in the US at the moment now. But, I can't argue with that. Those are the two best. They focus on making a burger. They've done it for a decade, and that's what their job is. So they have the best burgers. Secondary would be, I'll throw the Wicked one in there because it's the only flavored one with the jalapeno and cheese in it. So, but I'm all for Beyond or Impossible.
I do think that there's so much scope for, with all the kind of, I'm just going to, as shorthand, call them the fake meat products. The fact that you can infuse flavors, at base level, in that way it's such a game changer for that component of a meal, isn't it?
Yeah, and the new Beyond Mince is coming out now. I think it's in Costco. We'll have it in Tesco soon. And then you can flavor that just so if you want to do an Asian style burger or Cajun style burger, you can just flavor the mince and make really thin patties, which is what I like to do. So
that's a really exciting idea. Rukmini, what's your favorite burger?
Well, I haven't actually tried a Beyond or Impossible burger yet. So I'm intrigued to. I really like those ones. What's the company called? Is it called Strong? It's got white packaging and it's all vegetarian and vegan stuff, mostly vegan.
Strong Roots.
Is it Strong Roots? Yeah. They do a really nice beetroot burger that we got obsessed with in the last lockdown. My mum and I would sort of buy Waitrose out of them, and then someone else would, and we go every time. She'd say, "Can you get some of those burgers?" And someone else had bought them, and it was really upsetting. But they're delicious for packaged burgers. They were so good.
Is it time for me to climb down? Because again, beetroot burgers came up in a previous episode, and I'm afraid I took a very low view on beetroot-based burgers because I was like, that's a root vegetable, therefore it's healthy, therefore I don't want it anywhere near my burger.
That's what people think sometimes.
I think it had black beans in or something as well, but it was really good. And then they replaced it with one with quinoa, and you're like, no, I don't want quinoa on a burger. That's just wrong.
No.
Honestly, it was really nice.
I believe you. I'm prepared to believe you. I'm obviously feeling less combative this time.
Well, how does everyone feel about those? Seitan burgers? That's the gluteny stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
What are they like?
It's good. It's more like a fried, like a chicken.
Fried like chicken.
Yeah. Much better that way, I think.
Yeah. Crispy.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Have you guys made your own seitan?
No, but I watched a video the other day. Have you made it, Derek?
That's my brother's expertise. I do the mushrooms, he'll do the seitan. We're good.
Right.
It looks really time consuming.
Yeah, I got a recipe. I'll show you. I'll have to send it to you after.
Okay.
It is time consuming, but it's kind of really fun. I think we had a question in a previous episode where someone said, "What can I do as a kind of slow food thing. And I feel now actually the answer that I should have given was make seitan, because it's kind of fun. Like, if you want like a day in the kitchen with some music on or whatever you have, like, you know, just kind of hanging out and playing with food. There's nothing better than seitan, because you can't really do it wildly wrong. You just kind of put in whatever you want, you know. And like I made one where I use my favorite sort of blend at the moment is you combine, you sort of blitz up tofu with some oil of some kind, and maybe yeast flakes or whatever, and then you add this gluten flour, Vital Wheat gluten. But I really finely minced some sun-dried tomatoes and kind of put it in at that level for one, and it was brilliant, because you could never do that with meat. You can't infuse a flavor like that, and I do think it's a really fun thing for that. I actually had a go once with we had this can of mango puree, and I didn't know what to do with it, so I thought, well, I was really into making seitan at the time. I was like, I'm gonna make a sweet meat, like an actual sweet meat. And so I made seitan the usual way, but it was like, it was designed as a sweet. And so you had this kind of amazing sort of chewy, caramelized outer part, and then this soft, fleshy inside. I really liked it. I don't think it was a huge hit in the rest of the house. So let's ask the eternal question. What do you do? What do you do with tofu? Yes. What do you do with tofu? This is where we try and sort of garner your standard go-to recipe. Like, it doesn't have to be particularly highfalutin. It's just your work a day, fun things you do with a block of tofu. Rukmini, let's start with you.
It's mapo tofu from I used the Fuchsia Dunlop recipe. And you can use corn mince, rather than using pork mince, and it's unbelievably tasty.
What is it?
So it's got this like weird stories behind it, based on someone they said it translates as pockmarked woman's tofu, which is apparently according to Dunlop, she's a lady who would sell this particularly delicious dish. It looks like quite a mess of a dish, but it's delicious. So you've got this sauce that you make out of, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's ginger, chilies, loads of spring onions, and you get the tofu in it. And what's the red element? Why is there something red in there?
So do you kind of crumble up the tofu into it?
No. You cut the tofu into small little cubes, and then you put them in hot water, and you leave them in hot water for about 10 minutes. Take them out, and then you very gently fold them through. She suggests using that really soft, almost silken tofu, but I'm scared of silken tofu, because I just think it will scramble. So I tend to use the tofu.
Yeah,
the harder stuff, just because I'm scared. But I'm not describing it very well, but it is unbelievably delicious. And if you order it from a restaurant, I just find it's just not as good as the stuff you make yourself.
Right. That sounds really good. And then do you just sort of saute the whole thing?
Yeah, it's really quick. The tofu just goes into this lovely sauce that you've made at the end. And it does have the Sichuan peppercorns in it as well for that slightly mouth-numbing feel. And there's plenty of chili in there. And yeah, just tons of flavour.
That sounds amazing. Derek, what do you do with tofu?
Well, I feel like I went through it in the beginning of the conversation, but
did,
because my favorite way to do it is with the mayonnaise on top, and you roast it like that. Like, I'll send you the recipe for that one, but just normal every day, I might cut, if I use extra firm tofu, I might just cut it into 2 lengthwise and just season both sides, all 4 sides, and sear all 4 sides, and then pop it in the oven for another 20-30 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius, 400 degrees. Sorry, I'm used to thinking Fahrenheit.
You must be so good at doing the translations now. That's really impressive.
It's slowly working. I just like cooking the crap out of it. Sorry, and just load. Yeah. One thing that people are like, I always say, tofu is only as boring as your imagination. So,
which is why my tofu is so boring.
Just put a lot of seasoning on it. There's no over seasoning tofu, because when you cut into it, there's so much flesh to it that it covered, you need that for the flavor if you don't want it to be boring. So
Are you a freezer and a thawer or a
I
straight
am
from the
not.
packeter?
No,
No,
it's too much
you don't want to muck around, do you? I love that. You're like, don't give me
wanna eat. When I'm
process.
hungry, I want to eat. I don't wanna, I froze this tofu and I got to thaw it out for later. No, I just do it.
I do agree. Like pressure cookers changed my life when I was like, oh, I can eat kidney beans today. I don't have to. You know, 'cause I'm not one of those people. You know, I know people who literally have spreadsheets of what they're going to go and buy in the supermarket, and they go once a month.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to go every day and just see what I want to eat.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah.
This is why lockdown's so hard, because you shouldn't really just go to the shops every single day.
Yeah.
Hard times.
Looking forward to the spontaneity coming
Oh,
back.
yes.
We'd love to know what you do with tofu. Why don't you let us know? It's podcast@veganlifemag.com. And that's the email address you can use to ask us any questions. Let's carry on. Sarah says, what's a great marinade for veg on the grill? And we skirted around this very slightly earlier on. Derek.
A great marinade for veg. Honestly, I do a dry seasoning on everything before I do it on the grill. So I would just use a little olive oil or a little oil, any kind of oil, and seasoning in a bowl and toss all the veggies. I would quickly grill mark them, and then I sauce them, and then I'd put them back on the grill.
And then you put them back on.
That's how I personally would do it.
Yeah. And what kind of a sauce would you...
Sauce, if you take a courgette, for example, if you cut it into big rounds or even just in half and you sauce it, it's going to cook, but that sauce isn't going to penetrate the flesh of the vegetable or any vegetable other than maybe eggplant. What do you call it here?
Yeah, we're going to come on to that. It's the next question. So hold your eggplant.
Yes.
I mean, do not in front of us.
And it's just like the seasoning really does go for, even if it's just salt and pepper, it really goes a long way. And then have those grill marks and then sauce it and then grill it or finish it in the oven.
I love that. So you're kind of drawing some of the moisture out first before you start trying to put some back in. That's brilliant. Rukmini, what about you?
I've got really into doing freshly ground coriander. So, dry coriander that you get ground in a jar. It's boring. Like, it always smells a bit off and it's unexciting. But if you get the seeds and you start grinding them yourself, just with a pestle and mortar, it's like a completely different spice. And I've really got into doing that with things that you might not expect, sort of like with maybe tomatoes, like roasted tomatoes in a packet, and getting some of that freshly ground coriander on. It's when you say fresh coriander, people think you mean fresh. I'm not, freshly ground.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and it's almost like getting that kind of ducker spicing on things. So like crushed chickpeas, sesame, ground coriander, like those kind of Middle Eastern-y spices, I think work really well with a lot of veg. And having a little arsenal of those is quite nice.
And toasting.
Yes.
Grind it up and then quick toast on a hot skillet. Really nice.
Yes. Yeah, releasing all those lovely oils.
Top tips. I love that thought that, again, you don't have to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning the day before to begin a marinating process.
No.
That's great. Okay, well, it's time for us to grasp our aubergines. Ellie says, can I have tips for aubergine? It's the soggiest vegetable, but my housemate loves it.
What's she doing with them? Why does she think they're soggy?
I love an aubergine. I'll
Me
take
too.
it in any state. I'll take it crispy and dry. I'll take it soggy. I don't care. Just put it in my mouth. Rukmini, what would you do with an aubergine?
What wouldn't I do with an aubergine? I quite like doing them straight in the coals. When you're dirty aubergines, when the coals are dying down. And I've never really been a big fan of baba ganoush because it's boring. But when you do it this way, you get that charred flavour that you get of just whacking the aubergines straight on the coals. It chars, it shrivels. You cut out the insides, ignore the outsides, and it's unbelievable. There's a Bengali dish that my mum does that's a bit like a baba ganoush, but it's more like you put some roasted tomatoes to it as well, and it's like nothing else when you do it with a hot coal aubergine. I don't think she would call it. What did she call it? Soggy. Soggy. It's not soggy. Okay.
I mean, it's sort of, that sort of texture that you would have in baba ganoush that's pretty soggy.
I think,
well, it's soft, I
think so. Well, obviously because it's a dip, but doing it on the coals like that, it sort of dries it out and it really intensifies the flavour as well as making it smoky.
Yeah, Derek, what about you?
I like to do a little bit more work into it. Slicing them.
Oh, so
Slice
you're
them.
prepared to put out for an aubergine.
I will set out for an aubergine.
So will I.
Slice them in half, face down, roast them off in the oven until it starts to crinkle and look like a raisin. Let it cool. Scoop out the inside so it's one piece. And to me, that's like a chicken breast. So now you have the texture and feel of a chicken breast. And then I'll put it into a bag, Ziploc bag with the barbecue sauce or whatever marinade. And you have it just like that. So it looks like chicken breast.
Mental.
Oh, wow.
Not, and then throw those on the grill or roast them in the oven. So whether it's an Asian theme or a teriyaki theme or regular American barbecue style theme, it's
That's really exciting.
Oh,
Or you can just dredge them and fry them in corn flour and then just crispy. And do so the baba ganoush, I totally hear you on that. But if you take elements of the same method even you did, Minnie, or this one, and add it to the baba ganoush afterwards, it brings it to life.
that sounds
Elevates it.
lovely.
They do
Nice.
it 4 ways in one dish,
Yeah, I think fried is my next favourite. If you cut it into quite fat discs, and then the flour, and then the deep frying. Oh,
Yeah. It is sort of similar to tofu in a way, I think, aubergine, in as much as it really is about what you kind of bring to it and how far you're prepared to go in terms of the way you treat it. Like with tofu, it's very hard to overcook tofu. It's kind of the same with aubergine, I think.
yeah.
Okay.
Where does everyone stand on salting them? You see a recipe which is cut into slices, salt it, and I think
But draw the water out. It's too much work.
It
I
is too
knew you
much
were gonna
work.
say that.
I know, and also people think that aubergines are bitter, but I honestly think the bitterness has been bred out of them. I've never met a bitter aubergine. I think it's a hang up from before.
Yeah, I wonder if it's one of those things like coriander or truffles, where to some people they taste bitter, but other people just don't have those flavor receptors. I don't know. Could be
Interesting. Leave the salt to them.
Yeah, I'm with you, Derek. There, who's got time to salt and aubergine? How about it? Amanda says coleslaw is quite frankly a must in my house when we have a barbecue. Can I have a seriously good coleslaw recipe? Oh, I'm always up for a good coleslaw. Derek.
Me? Oh, well, yes. And I'm going to have to say, if you take the wicked mayonnaise that we have and a little bit of extra smoked paprika and a little bit of vinegar and some sugar, boom, you're done.
Oh, wow.
It's not much.
And what are the core? I mean, cabbage, yes. Carrots, yes.
You want cabbage? I like doing kale. So
Okay.
I'm not used to these. I call it gas station coleslaw, where it's just in the UK.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's so drowned in dressing.
It's
That
Right.
anemic stuff. Yeah.
So, but to add a little bit of, take your normal cabbage, shredded carrots. That's it, right? But add kale, add some green onion to it, add some life to it.
Yeah, I like putting spring onions in as well.
Yeah, something crunchy. So it's not just mayonnaise and a little bit of
Actually, really finely chopped celery as well kind of gives it a weird
yes.
lightness that I really like.
I put a big whack of lemon juice in as well.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Just to
grill
make-
any of those, even if you grilled a cabbage and then add it to it, that grill flavor goes throughout the whole thing. It's freaking amazing.
How do you grill a cabbage?
Oh,
You
just
have to grill a cabbage.
I don't know how to grill a cabbage.
Cabbages-
It's a football.
they're great. No, you cut it in quarters and get loads of oil and salt, and then they crisp up like delicious crisps.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Jake, if we do, I do this thing called hot box cabbage, where you take I have a cast iron Dutch oven, or you can use any Dutch oven, right?
Yeah.
You put they sell the cone cabbages here in the UK.
Yeah.
Right? So 2 of them will fit in, just a little bit of oil, some seasoning on the outside, cover it, whack it in the oven at 200 degrees for 45 minutes. Take it out, uncover it. It dry steams itself. And then let it cool, and then you can cut them, and you have these amazing steaks that then you lather with sauce and throw those on the grill. Oh, sorry for swearing.
It's that good, ladies and gentlemen.
Cabbage is like an unsung hero.
Cabbage is
Oh, I
awesome.
agree. I've been losing weight for the last few months, and so I've basically eaten brassica for about 6 months, and I'm okay with it. There's a proper kind of Stockholm syndrome thing going on with cabbage, but finding a new thing to do with cabbage.
I'll have to say
This is a good day, Derek. It's a really good day. It's exciting.
Cabbage.
Okay, Jeremy says, the way Jake feels about tempeh, don't. It's a very triggering word, Jeremy. I feel about jackfruit.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there another way I can make pulled pork? Ooh, yeah. Is there a non-jackfruit pulled pork you can do? Rukmini, what about you?
I don't know. I quite like jackfruit, so I'm not sure what I would use to pull off the top of my head.
I'm in the same camp as Jeremy. I'm not a big fan of jackfruit. I appreciate it, but it's just not one of those things on my head that I want to use or work with too much. It's too much work to take the sweetness out, and it's just.
I only use canned jackfruit, so that it's underripe.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. It's not too sweet. Fresh jackfruit, I can't stand. It's awful. It's a bit like what I imagine durian would be like, except I've never met one. Yeah, without, but it's almost there. It's almost on the border of a gone-off pineapple.
I really want to try durian one day. I swear to God.
Pulled mushrooms. That's what
Pulled
you
mushrooms.
do. The king oyster mushrooms. I'll send you guys that recipe as well. Just pull them. So with a fork, you just rip it apart, and it comes out with shreds. It has the chewability that jackfruit doesn't have. Jackfruit would just dissolve in your mouth, whereas these won't. Yeah. So the mushrooms really hold their flavor and their shape, and you can cook the crap out of them. You can't overcook them. So
that sounds really good. What is it that you do like about jackfruit? I feel like someone needs to advocate.
Well, funnily enough, so it's probably because they get used in Indian cooking quite a lot, not because you're trying to make them into something else, but because people quite like raw, unripe jackfruit to cook with. And I think the Bengali word for it is mock goat, it translates, because people do think it's so meaty. So you can use it sort of pretty much wherever there are times when you wouldn't use meat because it's a religious festival or something, so you might use jackfruit instead, unless you're already vegetarian or vegan. So in South Indian curries, it's really lovely if you use a coconut base, sort of coconut tamarind as a base for a sort of slow cooked jackfruit curry / stew. It's really nice. It's not. I think it's a bit of an acquired taste because I love it, and quite a few people I wrote a recipe for it in one of my roasting tin books. And most people are like, oh yeah, it's delicious. And then one or two people are like, this is the worst thing I've ever eaten. It's like, well, either you don't like jackfruit or tamarind or coconut. So
Derek, have you been trolling?
That sounds amazing. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't taste good in some recipes. It's just not something
it's just not what you go to.
But then some recipes, like some ingredients, you're just like, well, let's just use it as a veg. Sometimes if you're trying too hard to convert it, obviously it sounds like it works really well with your, I want that recipe for the aubergines. Yeah. Aubergine chicken and the mushrooms. That sounds amazing. But I guess sometimes you're just like, you know what? We just can't make this into a sow's purse into a sheep's ear or something?
Yes. We need to come up with a vegan equivalent of that.
Yes. We can't make a jackfruit into a I don't know.
Palatable dish. Yeah.
Well, this could be a caption competition for your listeners. Come up with a vegan version of the silk purse and sow's ear.
Yeah, you can't turn a jackfruit into a what? Podcast@veganlifemag.com.
You know who does do the good jackfruit is Biff's. Have you ever heard of Biff's? Or gone to his market? Like, he makes these amazing jackfruit like wings, and I think he does it on the sugar cane.
Yes,
right? That's good to gnaw on. But those are amazing, and he definitely changed my mind about what I think about jackfruit.
Okay,
interesting.
We're going to Biff's. Start the car. Gabby says, I miss chicken satay skewers. What's a great chicken replacement for this? I've got to say, I never ate one, but I can imagine.
King oyster mushrooms again for the win.
Yeah.
If you take a king oyster mushroom, and you remember I showed you the visual of it before.
The blue tank.
Slice it, soak it in warm or hot water or hot marinade. Then it becomes really flimsy. Then you can skewer it. Then you marinate it or grill it. And then you can marinate it again. I mean, it's one of those things where you can't really mess it up. Yeah. And again, we have a recipe, and I'll send you that one too.
Amazing, thank you. Just forward everything you've ever done.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
Complete works. Thank you.
It's just we can have your social security number. That'd be perfect. Rukmini, what about you? Are you big on satay?
Yes, I am. But I think, to be honest, it's always about the peanut sauce. Like back when I would have had a chicken satay, it's a bit dry. Unless you make it yourself. I've never really had one off a street stall that I thought was as good as the peanut sauce that you dip it in. So if I was going down a vegan route, I'd probably do something like the Indonesian gado-gado. So
Yeah.
like they would do it with just boiled vegetables, but obviously I'd like to roast or barbecue them. New potatoes, roast them after about 35 minutes in their jackets with loads of sesame oil, add some green beans and bean sprouts, roast them off, make this amazing peanut sauce with coconut and soy. And you just drizzle these crispy roasted potatoes and beans and things with this peanut satay sauce. And it's incredible. And it's actually something you'd want to have peanut sauce on, which is great.
Yeah. I do feel like, chicken satay skewers, that's really just a vehicle for
It's a vehicle for
peanutty
peanuts.
sauce, isn't it?
Yeah. You could just eat the peanut sauce, to be honest.
Yeah. So tell me, your satay sauce then, it's soy sauce, coconut.
It's creamed coconut or coconut milk.
Cream
Cream or milk. Peanut butter, because I'm lazy and I don't grind the peanuts from scratch. Soy sauce, and then either rice wine vinegar or loads of lime juice, because I'm a lime juice fiend.
Yeah. Chilies. Throw some chilies and you got
chilies. Yes. Chilies as well.
Yeah.
I'm a bit of a wuss when it comes to chili, and then I go through phases when I try a recipe I wrote before and think, God, I really should have put more chili in that.
Yeah. Imagine how you'll be in 30 years' time.
I know. This is flavourless. Outrageous.
Staying with chicken recipes or replacements, therefore, Josie says, have you got a recipe for tandoori chicken? I'm not the best when it comes to mixing my spices, but I do love eating spicy food. Can I have advice on this, please, as I would love to wow my family with this when they visit in the summer? Derek?
I'm going to give the hand that to Minnie.
Well, I think the thing about tandoori chicken, which most people know, is that it's only bright red because of food dye. So you think you're having very exciting bright red chicken, and it's a food dye that I think is no longer legal because it contains too many weird things. But if you want,
and cochineal, presumably, which is the cockroach.
The little
red dye.
Red beetle guy. And I'm not sure which one it is, but basically it's lurid coloured. But if you want a home version of that, it's kind of your standard Indian spices. I would put a big whack of smoked paprika in for that smokiness, because no one has a tandoor oven. Ground cumin, ground coriander, fresh ginger, fresh garlic, and if you were use some kind of vegan yogurt as a vehicle, because the yogurt's such a tenderizer for whatever it is you're going to cook. Again, loads of lemon juice, and it's something that benefits from a nice long marinade. And you could put fresh coriander in as well, but you don't have to. And just that. And then whatever it is you're cooking, so say you were doing tofu, that whole process of it will get lovely and crusty with that sort of delicious sauce on, which is what you want. You want texture and burn.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Good to me. Throw a little beet powder in there for the red.
That's
a great tip.
That Oatly yogurt is so good. I don't know if you've had that yet. But
I have not had that yet. The Alpro soy yogurt is the one I used to get. But but yes, I will try the Oatly one. I like their stuff.
Derek, imagine some kind of extraordinary extinction level event happened to the oyster mushroom. What would you go to in that recipe if not oyster mushrooms?
For the tandoori?
Yeah.
I would probably go with tofu.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not something I've made. I'd have to look into it. It's interesting because coming over here to the UK, Indian food is so big. Whereas I'm more Mexican food because it's much bigger. It's like the trade-off for the countries. So I'm in a lovely land of learning more and more about the Indian food. So
there's a big crossover with the spices, though. So one of my close friends went to university in New Mexico, and she looked at my spice cupboard where I divided things: Indian, Mexican, Chinese, whatever. And she said, all the things that are in your Indian one, I put those in the Mexican. I'm like, well, I grew up with them as Indian, so they're staying in the Indian box. No, they're not
it's
moving.
Just a different name.
Absolutely, yeah. There's such a crossover.
That's fascinating. Tell me more about the crossover. Like what spices are kind of in the overlap on the Venn diagram?
Definitely the corianders, the cumins, the paprikas, a lot of that fresh
the
cilantro.
Chilies.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, tasty.
I hadn't thought about that. There's one cuisine. You know what I mean? Like we're all human beings and stuff. And we'll just get along. And there we must regretfully leave it. Huge thanks to my guests, Rukmini, Iyer and Derek Sarno. Don't forget, Rukmini's book, Green Barbecue, is out now, published by Square Peg. She's also the best-selling author of the Roasting Tin series, and that's sold nearly 1 million copies. Derek's stuff can be found at wickedhealthyfood.com. You might also enjoy his Mushroom Mania playlist from Wicked Foods on YouTube. Thanks very much for listening to the podcast. Please don't forget to subscribe and share. It makes a massive difference. If you'd leave a little review if you're enjoying it, you've no idea how far that would go. Really, I'm not just saying that. It would be a huge help. Thank you. Help a vegan brother. Thanks. Don't forget you can buy Vegan Life magazine in any good shop, or you can buy it online at veganlifemag.com. You can also subscribe and save a little bit of money there, or you can download the Vegan Life app on your app store if you want to be all groovy and 22nd century about it. If you've got any questions about any kind of vegan food, it's podcast at veganlifemag.com, and we'll do our best to field that question to the best people possible. Thanks so much for your company. We'll be back next week with more stuff. Until then, from me, Jake Gap, lots of love. Bye-bye.
This has been a Swanburst Media production.